Hollywood spent the 80s hiding neo-noir thrillers that were dark, twisted, and too dangerous for regular audiences. Studios freaked out when test screenings went badly, shelved finished movies for years, and hoped these wild crime stories would vanish forever. These 8 cult classics would not die, staying alive as hidden treasures that show sometimes the best movies are the ones Hollywood really wanted you to forget. Trouble in Mind should have made Alan Rudolph a big name in Hollywood, but instead he made a neo-noir movie so weird that studios didn't know what to do with it. Set in rainy Seattle, reimagined as the futuristic Rain City, ex-cop Hawk comes back from 8 years in prison for vigilante killing to find his old lover Wanda running a cafe, while a young couple, Coop and Georgia, get caught up in the criminal world of flashy mob boss Hilly Blue. Coop gets tempted by the underworld, while Hawk becomes Georgia's reluctant protector in a city where everyone is drowning in broken dreams and bad choices. Divine came out of drag for only the second time ever to play Hilly Blue, working with Rudolph on a tuxedo look inspired by Sydney Greenstreet that turned him from a camp icon into a truly scary gangster. Christopherson accidentally broke his hand, landing a real punch on Keith Carradine during a fight scene, stopping filming for 10 days while doctors fought infection and the insurance company threatened to pull coverage. The sets were so real that Wanda's Cafe was built in Seattle's Belltown, and locals kept trying to go in thinking it was a real diner. The crew eventually let it become an actual restaurant after filming because turning people away caused too much chaos. Marianne Faithfull didn't just do the haunting title song, her bluesy narration runs through the whole film, giving it a dreamlike feel that mixed 1940s noir style with 1980s punk, leaving test audiences confused about what decade they were seeing. Keith Carradine's costumes get crazier as Coop goes deeper into crime, with the wardrobe team showing his mental breakdown through wilder outfits, making him look like a rejected new wave music video during the movie's final mansion shootout. Street Smart was Morgan Freeman's big breakout role, and Christopher Reeve almost went broke trying to make it happen. The story follows desperate magazine writer Jonathan Fisher, who makes up a shocking pimp story to save his failing career, only for Freeman's frighteningly real fast black to become the main suspect in a real murder case. Fisher gets caught between journalistic rules and street violence as his lies get completely out of control. Reeve didn't just act in the movie. He also produced and partly paid for it himself because he wanted to prove he could do serious drama, not just wear a cape and tights like in his old roles. Freeman's acting was so powerful that critics compared him to Brando, got him his first Oscar nomination, and really launched his Hollywood career. But no one talks about this. The movie sat on a shelf for almost 2 years because studios were scared it wouldn't succeed, and Reeve had to fight to get it released. The film sparked real debates in New York about journalism ethics and whether Fisher's fake story was misconduct or just creative writing, with actual media panels discussing it. The movie was filmed in real New York locations during one of the city's most violent times, with the cast and crew constantly facing real street conflicts, which made the tension on screen feel very real. Freeman's method acting as Fast Black was so intense that other actors said they felt genuinely scared during their scenes, creating a danger that test audiences couldn't look away from, even if they wanted to. Cohen and Tate turned a simple kidnapping thriller into something much more mentally intense, and director Eric Red knew exactly what he was doing. Young Travis is taken from Oklahoma after his family is killed by aging professional Cohen and unstable psychopath Tate, who are driving him to Houston for their mafia bosses, while the boy tries to use their hatred against each other to survive the growing violent struggle between his captors. Red got a lot of ideas from action-packed French crime films to make a non-stop, tense story where there is literally nowhere to hide and no break from the pressure inside that car. The movie was filmed entirely on real Texas highways and Houston outskirts to make the feeling of empty isolation even stronger. Child actor Harley Cross later said in interviews that Red carefully made the set tense but psychologically safe, even with the disturbing story. Roy Scheider used his method acting skills to support young Cross during the intense scenes, creating a strange mix where the terror on screen was paired with off-screen mentorship, which actually made the movie feel even scarier. Parent groups were furious about the cold execution scenes and long sequences of the child being terrorized, accusing Red of using violence against kids for entertainment. Hadale Film Corporation asked for some scenes to be cut after test audiences walked out in disgust. Even though collectors kept talking about lost footage showing even darker material, no major deleted scenes have ever appeared. The film found its cult fans on late-night cable and in urban video stores, where true crime lovers discovered this deeply unsettling look at professional violence meeting childhood innocence, still feeling shocking decades later. Mona Lisa won Bob Hoskins the Best Actor award at Cannes, and making Neil Jordan's gritty London story almost fell apart because they filmed in real King's Cross vice areas during their most dangerous time. Hoskins plays George, a recently released ex-con who becomes the driver for high-class call girl Simone, played by Kathy Tyson in her breakthrough role, as they move through the violent 1980s Soho and King's Cross, looking for Simone's missing friend. George slowly changes from working-class muscle into something like a romantic hero. Jordan wrote the whole script in just 9 days, somehow mixing his fantasy storytelling background with a brutally realistic look at London's sex trade, which critics later said was almost like a documentary. Tyson worked closely with sex worker support groups to make Simone real, not just a typical Hollywood prostitute stereotype. Hoskins later said this role was the turning point of his career, and Michael Caine took a supporting role as gangster Mortwell to challenge his usual image. Impressed by Jordan's earlier experimental films and wanting to work with a director who took risks, the production filmed extensively in real, dangerous Soho and King's Cross neighborhoods during late hours, capturing real street scenes with working prostitutes and criminals who didn't know they were being filmed for a major movie. Jordan's choice to mix fiction and reality created an uncomfortable authenticity that made audiences squirm, but earned praise from critics for showing London's hidden underworld, proving that sometimes the most difficult productions happen when filmmakers refuse to hide ugly truths for mainstream comfort. Crimes of Passion shows Ken Russell at his most intentionally shocking, and Kathleen Turner's starring role became career suicide wrapped in daring art. Turner plays Joanna Crane, a conservative fashion designer who secretly works as China Blue, a bold Los Angeles prostitute whose double life draws the dangerous obsession of Anthony Perkins, a sexually repressed street preacher carrying a metallic vibrator he calls Superman, while a married electronics manager gets pulled into her world of theatrical sex and psychological danger. Russell pushed controversy by mixing melodrama, thriller elements, and camp eroticism in ways meant to shock censors, with Perkins and Russell improvising scenes that reportedly left the crew both excited and genuinely disturbed. The sets used bright neon and surreal designs, paying tribute to Hitchcock and mid-century pulp, while the studio released 2 completely different versions: an unrated cut showing Russell's full vision and a heavily edited R-rated version that caused huge debates among fans and censorship groups. Reverend Donald Wildwin led a boycott campaign that brought in over 12,000 complaint letters and church protests in 19 states, with tabloids calling Russell America's pornographer and conservative politicians using the movie as proof of Hollywood's moral decay during elections. The moral panic failed spectacularly when midnight screenings turned Turner's China Blue into a countercultural icon embraced by artists, drag performers, and leather club fans who saw the film's sexual boldness as liberation, not exploitation. The controversy created a strange cultural moment where the movie was both everything wrong with 1980s Hollywood excess and everything right about artistic freedom, challenging conservative morals and proving that sometimes the most hated movies become the most influential cult classics. The Bedroom Window hides one of the messiest casting risks of the decade, with Steve Guttenberg awkwardly moving from comedy star to serious suspense. Somehow, it actually works. Guttenberg plays ambitious executive Terry Lambert, who sees an assault through his window while having an affair with his boss's wife, Sylvia, played by Isabel Huppert. He lies that he witnessed the attack to protect her reputation, only to watch his false testimony spiral into deadly consequences when the real attacker starts killing everyone involved in the case. Director Curtis Hanson deliberately cast Guttenberg against type after his comedy success, using a cold visual style and asking Huppert to bring her intense European acting approach, creating a tense clash between Guttenberg's American everyman image and Huppert's severe psychological intensity. The production drew heavy inspiration from Hitchcock and thrillers like Rear Window, with Hanson adapting Anne Holden's novel while emphasizing ambiguity and unreliable narration that kept audiences guessing about who was manipulating whom. The film's clever camera setups and tightly framed interiors became famous among cinematography students studying suspense techniques. Guttenberg later said Hanson's strict directing style brought out his best dramatic performance, and the movie gained unexpected cult status through Baltimore's late-night TV broadcasts and local video stores. where college radio stations paired window nights with true crime documentaries exploring the film's themes of witness testimony and romantic obsession. This production predicted the erotic thriller boom of the late 1980s and early 1990s, while staying more psychologically complex than the later copycats, showing that sometimes casting against type gives a thriller exactly the tension it needs. Blood Simple almost fell apart during production when the Coen Brothers' perfectionist vision for their first movie collided with their total lack of money and industry contacts. The story follows jealous Texas bar owner Marty hiring sleazy detective Visser to kill his cheating wife Abby and her lover Ray, only for Visser to double-cross everyone by killing Marty instead and leaving Ray to find the body, mistakenly thinking Abby did it, setting off a chain of paranoid misunderstandings and violence. The Coens famously shot a fake trailer using borrowed gear and actor Bruce Campbell to pitch investors, essentially creating cinema's first crowdfunding campaign, now common among indie filmmakers. Cinematographer Barry Sonnenfeld designed the film's signature snow cam for POV shots while inventing cheap DIY equipment to get unusual visual effects on their tiny budget, with Frances McDormand making her film debut in a role that would later lead to her marriage to Joel Coen. Emmett Walsh was the only actor the Coens imagined for Detective Visser, and they campaigned to cast him after being inspired by his menacing role in Straight Time, creating a sweaty, reptilian villain that became the model for decades of neo-noir antagonists. The studio asked for some edits to pacing and violence during post-production. While rumors about radically different international cuts persist, most versions only have small scene trims rather than major changes. The Coens' creative disagreements during filming actually added to the film's paranoid tension, with arguments over camera angles and editing rhythm producing a deliberately disorienting visual style that became their signature approach for their whole career, proving that sometimes friction creates exactly the atmosphere a neo-noir needs. Masquerade became a total disaster when Roblow's career-defining sex tape scandal collided with this Newport murder mystery during filming. And somehow, the chaos made the movie better. Meg Tilly plays vulnerable heiress Olivia Lawrence, who falls for charming yachtsman Tim Wan during Newport's regatta season, only to find she's being manipulated by ruthless socialite Anne Briscoe and caught in a deadly plot against her huge inheritance, while everyone's true motives stay hidden behind wealthy New England masks. Filming in the Hamptons caused logistical nightmares from unpredictable weather, but the lush scenery perfectly captured upscale atmospheric visuals. Lowe's ongoing media scandal caused huge distribution delays and forced the studio to completely change its advertising to avoid linking him to tabloid fame. While the set design intentionally referenced old money prep school style years before, the talented Mr. Ripley made that look mainstream, creating a cold, elegant atmosphere where wealth itself feels psychologically violent. Director Bob Swain filmed multiple endings and chose the finale based on test audiences and the film's gothic undertones, sparking debates among cult fans about whether the theatrical cut is the strongest ending. Meg Tilly prepared by studying real New England high society, bringing subtle vulnerability to Olivia so her change from naive heiress to survivor felt real, not just plot-driven. The chilly tension between Tilly and Kim Cattrall was partly real from playing adversaries, with their off-screen distance making their on-screen psychological battles stronger. Critics at first dismissed the film as disposable thriller trash, but late-night cable and Northeast video stores embraced it as modern gothic noir, with local bars hosting Masquerade nights. Film students in Providence praised its sharp look at New England's dark underbelly, hidden beneath yacht club respectability,